I'm not a scientist. I'm just a simple entrepreneur and somebody who doesn't know much. How could I really be in a position to talk with such a esteemed group of speakers? I thought maybe what I should do is do what many people have done, go to the top of the mountains to get some revelations about what should be done. So the last 2 weeks before I came to Moscow, I went to the base camp of Mount Everest and about actually 500 meters above that in Kalapatra. There is some good news and there is some bad news I can tell you about my revelations. The good news is I did get a download. I did get something. The bad news is it was a bad virus, so that's why my voice is so funny and I keep coughing. But compared to the weather in Moscow, I think the weather in Everest was quite nice. No, I'm just joking. Moscow is great. I've been asked to talk about education and the role that it can play. Before I start that, I want to mention we should look at the title of this conference, Open Innovations. Open Innovations. What I believe it implies is not to create some big reports like in many of the meetings that if any of you have gone to some international organizations like UN, and you see these huge reports that are filed and nobody pays attention to them after the meeting is over. But the idea is how to find the greatest ideas and spread them around. Have it to be openly available as an open source to everyone. When we look at the opportunities that exist today, maybe a good example would be, I should tell you about my own experience. I was born in Iran, and when I was going to high school there, I noticed all of my books were at least 20 to 30 years behind what was happening in US or in Europe. So as an Iranian kid, I had no chance to get the right education to become a global player, to address the issues of key importance. That's why when I was barely 18 years old, I told my father, I'm going to US, I'm going to Silicon Valley, and he said, where is US and what do you mean by Silicon Valley? Nobody in our family had ever come to US. Nobody knew where I was going. But I had to go for search of knowledge. However, today, because of the internet, because of broadband systems available from 3G to 4G, becoming more and more accessible all over the world, because of the reduction of the price on mobile smartphones and tablets and laptops, there is opportunity to provide huge amount of content in a way to empower the next generation to solve many of these problems that our esteemed panel discussed. I am a little bit of contrarian. I have participated for a few years on a number of UN meetings. I was frustrated. So much talk and very little action. I have seen how in political world, people in every country don't do necessarily what's right for their people. They do what is going to get them elected. And of course, we can talk about we need to change this, it's good to fight corruption, it's good to do this, that, that. All of those are valuable lessons. But what is really going to change every country and change the whole planet is really the next generation. This generation has really had tons of problems, too many wars, too much conflict, too much deployment of the resources in destruction of them, and too much pollution of our environment. What we need to do is to provide this information available in an open way to all the people in the next generation, and let them come up with practical solutions that make sense for them at their own local communities. And every now and then, that local solution can have regional or global applications. Let me give you one example. My wife and I, in 1996, decided to put a significant sum of our wealth into creating a nonprofit organization called Schools Online. And as part of this, we started to provide internet learning centers in more than 6,400 schools in 36 countries. The goal was to give computers, to provide access to high-speed internet, and provide access to the newest content available anywhere in the world. As part of this effort, we started to support another nonprofit organization called iEarn, International Education and Resources Network. This organization has hundreds of thousands of teachers by now in over 100 countries who all use the internet to cooperate with each other. But I will tell you, when many people were talking about, is there water pollution, is there pollution of the environment, what we did at iEarn was very simple. At that time, iEarn was involved in more than 60 countries. We asked all the schools, thousands of schools in these 60 countries, to make it a class on evaluation of the quality of water nearest to that school. On a 3-month basis, the kids would go find the nearest ocean, the nearest river, the nearest lake, measure, gather some samples, send it to a regional university, and measure the level of pollution. And with this data, there was no question. On a global basis, we were destroying the planet Earth. And all that really required was grassroots efforts by the kids involved to do this. That's what I believe we can do with the 21st century e-learning solutions available to us. If you look at what Khan Academy has done, the videos which are available that teach you about all the different topics, if you look at what CK12 has done, if you look at even on YouTube, did you know that there are over 1 million educational videos on YouTube? I'm not talking about the cats and dogs singing. I'm talking about real educational content. All we have to do is make sure the children get their own laptop, get their own access to the internet, provide a contextualized way for them to go and access this information, and let them come up with the solutions. So we don't all have to be so depressed thinking of these big problems and say maybe it's time for us to commit suicide. Thank you so much.